A man was found guilty of decapitating a man and playing soccer with his head. A statue in London is going to have to be moved so people can stop groping her. And a bank accidentally credited a customer with $81 trillion. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News. And I welcome you to Weird AF News. This is the only daily weird news podcast. It's hosted by a very regal gentleman inside a very hot closet. Let's go. A man has been found guilty of decapitating another man and then playing soccer with his head. It was about time they tried something to make soccer exciting, right? It's just such a boring sport. But if you're going to kick around a decapitated head, I will watch. I will buy a ticket. Do baseball next, will you? Because that sport's very boring as well. All right, we have here a very sick individual. He stabbed another man 84 times, then took off his head and played soccer with his head, and he was just convicted. It reminds me of that. You ever seen that film, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia? I highly recommend it. It's very good. It's a very good film. I believe it's from the 70s. We have this guy, Joel Arciniega Sanya. I can't say his name. We'll call him Joel. Joel, the decapitated head soccer player. He's 28 years old. He was found guilty of first-degree murder in the brutal killing of 51-year-old James Garcia. Oh, my goodness. That's like same last name as Alfredo Garcia, the movie I just mentioned. Very coincidental. We have the county district court records show that a jury convicted this guy, Joel, of this felony charge a few days ago. The verdict came on the heels of what prosecutors called a very lengthy legal process marked by challenges surrounding the defendant's competency. Yeah, because I'd imagine your defense is going to go with insanity because he decapitated a man and then used his head as a soccer ball. I mean, you could probably easily claim, insanity, and people would agree. Some more details. Apparently, Joel was unhoused at the time of the gruesome. So they're still using this word, unhoused. He was a homeless man at the time of the gruesome and horrific attack. He stabbed the victim 7 times with a small switchblade. I'm so sorry. This is a horrible story. I shouldn't do this one on a Monday morning. I'm going to try to get jokes in here. I've already tried. It's an uphill battle. It really is when someone just goes true Mortal Kombat on somebody. Finish him. Finish him, literally. It says he cut off his finger and his head and proceeded to play soccer with the victim's head following the brutal murder. Growing up poor, we were often missing sports equipment. Reminds me of that. I never thought to use the heads of my enemies for volleyball or bowling, or the legs of my nemesis as golf clubs. I guess this is what they do in other places. This article mentions some motive, in case you're wondering what brings somebody to decapitate another individual and then kick their severed noggin around a grassy field for several hours. It says here Joel and the victim, Garcia, had a history, and in fact, it was claimed that Garcia previously sexually assaulted Joel's wife, which is apparently what led to this. Partly. Joel also said that on the day of the killing, he and his wife fell asleep sometime, and when they woke up, their belongings were gone. Joel claims he followed Garcia to a park to confront him and get his belongings back, and that's when it all went down. Now, you would think that this occurred in a place like, I don't know, Uruguay or something, or India. No, New Mexico. United States. This happened in the United States. I think I missed this story when it actually went down. Anyways, thankfully, the jury found the guy guilty of first-degree murder. And so, this individual needs to be put away far from humanity, when you do these sorts of things. And it needs help. Too. I don't know if you can save someone like this, though. Do you think these kind of people can be rehabilitated? It's people like this, though, like Hannibal Lecter. It seems like they've gone past the point of no return. And in instances like that, I kind of feel like, for me anyways, I don't want to pay for this man's ongoing existence in a jail, or however it costs to keep him alive. So, maybe play basketball with his head for a little while. NBA playoffs is right around the corner. Can make it interesting. A statue in Dublin has been being groped, and one person wants a change to be made. A busker has campaigned for the Molly Malone statue to be treated with more respect. There was a request made by this busker. Do you guys know what a busker is, by the way? Let's define the terms. A busker is someone who plays music in public for money, in a subway tunnel sometimes, at a bus stop, on the sidewalk, on the corner, sometimes in Walmart parking lots, dodging pantsless Florida men. This particular busker, this artist, went to the Dublin City Council and strongly requested to elevate the statue of Molly Malone to keep her out of reach of tourists and whatnot. And they're strongly considering this. The statue is located outside of St. Andrew's Church on Suffolk Street, and it's a popular stop on the tourist trail in Dublin. It says here, the so-called tradition of rubbing Molly Malone's breasts for good luck has sparked a backlash in recent years. A backlash from one busker, or like are there multiple people up in arms about the rubbing of a statue's breasts? I mean, this is kind of what people do to statues. I don't know if you guys recall, I covered a story about that Ronaldo statue. The soccer player Ronaldo in Brazil has a statue, and people keep rubbing his package so that it's shiny. The Bruce Lee statue in Chinatown, where I used to live, they had to put a fence around it because people kept rubbing Bruce's package. I think I groped a Ronald McDonald statue as a child. I do recall that. Oh, and I mean, one of the more famous instances of this is the Wall Street bull, that big metal bull. Everyone rubs the testicles of the bull, and they're very, very shiny. I think this is just human nature, to rub on statues a little bit. All right, back to our Molly Malone breast-rubbing story here. We have a busker named Tilly Cripwell who started a campaign called Leave Molly Malone. And they spelled it M-A-L-O-N-E. Leave Molly Malone. In today's I Need to Find My Outrage, and if it doesn't exist, I'll invent it, top stories. This busker's probably jealous no one's polishing her sweater puppies. A little history about the Molly Malone statue. It was erected in 1988, and the statue's bosom, which has become shiny from tourists touching it and rubbing it, was covered in paint 3 times in recent years in protest. I'm looking at a photo of the statue, and she's asking for it. I gotta say, she's asking for it. Well, I mean, you gotta see what I'm seeing here. I mean, who made this statue? Whoever did made it very revealing. It's very sexy. It's like low cut, and her breasts are like popping out. They're really extruding from a very low cut shirt, and one of her shoulder straps is hanging down. What is this? I mean, if they presented this as the statue from the get-go, I would have been like, hey guys, maybe we make one a little bit more modest than this. Like, this is ridiculous. I mean, just look at it. There's going to be teenage boys that see this, and they're gonna do something. And now with TikTok and Instagram, of course, it's going to make for hilarious photography and video. This was a bad idea from the get-go, is what I'm saying. However, I don't believe anyone should be arrested for this. It's not the end of the world. This is what people do. I'm sure there's bigger problems than this in the world. Have you heard of something called tariffs? Okay, so according to this busker, the majority of people will touch her boobs for good luck. That's a misogynistic tradition. Well, I'm sure women do it too. All right, it's probably not only men that are rubbing her bronze breasts. Like, let's be real here. It's funny. Everyone's doing it, women and men. Here's a quote from the busker some more. A lot of people clamor around her, kiss her on the cheek, kiss her boobs. It's all inappropriate. It's reducing her to this derision and not giving her the status of being a national treasure. I walk by the Oscar Wilde statue in Marion Square every day. You don't see people rubbing his crotch for good luck. With the statue of David, if you were to grope him, people would feel that's inappropriate and offensive. But when the same thing happens to Molly Malone, they don't even think twice. Well, I think the statue of David is out of reach of tourists, so you can't even touch that statue in the museum. They put, But if you could reach the statue of David, what do you think people are going to do? All right. We all find that little wee of his to be hilarious. Obviously, we're going to take selfies with it. Obviously, we're going to take the tip of our finger and go and make a video of David's tiny little package. All right, there's more quotes by this busker. I don't know if I should give this busker all this credit. I mean, this busker just needs to get a life. When I see men and women touching the Molly Malone statue, their kids are looking at them. What example is this setting? Why is it part of Irish culture? If kids are seeing that it's the norm, seeing it's a tradition to grope a woman, how can we move on from the patriarchal history? Okay. No, I just can't stand people like this. You know, you would think a busker would have bigger problems than this, because from my understanding, buskers don't get health insurance, and they live, you know, off basically pocket change. So I don't know what kind of busker this is. Maybe Tilly here is just crushing it. The buskers I see, you know, could use some dental work, for being honest. There's a quote here from the Dublin City Council. Poor City Council's got to deal with this when there's probably, you know, real issues in the city. I mean, I would imagine in a city where 95% of the people are alcoholics, you have real groping of real women going on that probably should be addressed before this statue. That's just me. All right, let me get into the quote. I'm going to try an accent. Well, we discussed our ideas for how the issues around Molly Malone's statue could be improved, including raising up the plinth so that the statue is more highly elevated, and her idea for a grassroots awareness campaign. And that's the end of the quote and the end of the article. So they're actually considering an awareness campaign. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be great for the budget. Do you remember last year when we spent 20% of our budget on an awareness campaign for people not to touch the breasts of an inanimate object? Well spent, guys. Here are levels of a rational response from the city council. Number one, most rational. Just ignore this one individual who's asking you to spend resources on something that is a non-issue for 99% of the population over there. Number two, put a barrier around it. There you go. What's that cost? $300. Problem solved. Number three. Here's number three. Not quite as rational, but you remove the current statue and you put out a contest for all the local artists to make a better statue, a less busty statue. All right. Here's my last suggestion, and it's the least rational. You go the other way with it. You encourage people to grope Molly Malone's breasts, and you have a contest every year, best groping, and you create a whole weekend around it, and you use it as a festival, the Molly Malone Titty Fest, and you raise all kinds of money, you bring in tourism, and the city thrives from it. Actually, now that I have laid it all out, it actually sounds like the most rational solution. There's money to be made here.
When you check out at the pharmacy, you see the journey from idea to medicine, thanks to our intellectual property system, or IP for short. IP safeguards inventions, like a new way to prevent seizures or lower cholesterol. And IP supports competition from other brands, then lower-cost generics, which are 90% of prescriptions filled in the U.S. Innovation, competition, lower costs, thanks to IP. Learn more at phrma.org/IP works wonders.
A bank credited a customer $81 trillion instead of $280. That sounds like a little bit of a mistake. I'm not very good at math, but I think they were off by a couple of zeros. Citigroup is the institution that made this horrible mistake of crediting $81 trillion to a customer's account instead of $280. This would make a great advertisement to get people to switch banks. When you join Citigroup, you never know what might happen. You could get credited trillions of dollars by mistake. So come over to Citigroup and roll the dice. All right, let's get back into the story and see if the customer was allowed to keep the $81 trillion. Is there even that much money in the world? How did this happen? Obviously, somebody typed in the numbers wrong. I'm going to guess a cat ran across the keyboard. That's my theory. A cat ran across the keyboard at the bank. Okay, it says here the multi-trillion-dollar error was overlooked by both a payments employee and a second employee assigned to check the transaction before it was approved to be processed. How do you, your job is to check a transaction and you miss that many zeros and you just pass it on to be processed? I'm guessing the first two employees lost their jobs. A third employee caught the mistake 90 minutes after the payment was posted, leading Citigroup to reverse the transaction several hours after it had been submitted. Ooh, I wonder if the customer got the interest on several hours of $81 trillion. I don't even know what that would be. It probably comes to like $2 billion an hour or something. That's probably like $10 billion of interest, several hours of that money. Oh, unbelievable. Did the person know? Imagine finding that in your account. How quick could you withdraw? Well, I mean, you can't withdraw 81 trillion. You can't even probably withdraw a trillion. They don't have that kind of cash on hand. How much cash does an average bank have on hand? Let me look this up. Okay, it says a typical U.S. bank usually keeps only a small percentage of its deposits on hand as cash. Smaller banks holding as little as $50,000, with larger banks upwards of $200,000 readily available in their vaults, depending on anticipated transaction needs and branch size. So there's our answer. I mean, you're lucky to get $250,000 out of a bank. So you really couldn't stockpile this cash even if it was mistakenly put into your account. I mean, maybe you could electronically transfer it to some offshore bank accounts or like buy crypto with it. I don't know if there's a way to do this. But you could definitely like visit, 6 or 7 banks in the area as part of those branches and probably get you, I don't know, maybe you piece together $2 million in cash, make your way to the grocery store and so you can buy some eggs with it. It's a good investment right now. You're going to get caught though, is the issue. Unless you take the 81 trillion that they mistakenly put into your account and you buy Citigroup with it. There you go. And then you threaten all your employees that if they, rat on you, they know what's going to happen. And now you've gotten away with, I'm so good. I really am. Now, the article goes on to say, in case you don't know what $81 trillion is, it far exceeds the gross domestic product of every country in the world, including the nearly $30 trillion GDP of the U.S. It also surpasses Citigroup's own $147 billion market capitalization. Yeah, you could buy Citigroup over 100 times, still have money left over. We have a Citigroup spokesperson here who said that the incident was an inputting error and that there was no impact to the bank or the client. They also stated that the transaction was so large it could not have even been processed. So, poor client wasn't even the richest person for a few hours. Because that's pretty cool bragging rights. And children, that's how I became the richest man in the world. A cat ran over a keyboard. It says here the bank also said that they're going to push to eliminate manual entry and work on automating the inputting process. Yeah, well, I mean, you got an idiot working there, more than one. To put that many zeros in, if you see that many, if you looked at the number trillion, it's just so many zeros. How do you screw that up? You know what I mean? It's the difference between a kitten and a Siberian tiger. You should know which one to pet. The article says this isn't the first time Citigroup has made a massive input error. They reported 10 near misses of $1 billion or more occurred in Citigroup last year, down from 13 in 2023. Wow, it sounds like this is a great bank to do business with. They might screw up and give you $1 billion. Citigroup, when you open an account with us, you also, in a way, are playing the lottery.
Oh, Pod Daddy.
Your data is like gold to hackers. They're selling your passwords, bank details, and private messages. McAfee helps stop them. Secure VPN keeps your online activity private. AI-powered text scam detector spots phishing attempts instantly. And with award-winning antivirus, you get top-tier hacker protection. Plus, you'll get up to $2 million in identity theft coverage, all for just $39.99 for your first year. Visit McAfee.com. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Good luck with your life, man.
You're never gonna see me from the Lord, that's right. Slipping to the dark side of rum. On the dark side. Oh, yeah. On the dark side. Anyone know what he's saying? I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying, but I like it. I like it. Sometimes you just like things you don't know why. Hi, everybody. By the way, this is your buddy Jonesy, the host of Weird AF News. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I had a nice time. I won my softball championship on Sunday, and I celebrated all night and had a great time. It was great. It's been a long time coming. I haven't won a softball championship probably 6 years. So, yeah, and I played very well, and I was happy. It was a good day. I like those things in life. You got to find those little things in life, guys, that make you smile. You really, really do. Anyways, I want to give thanks and praise as well, not to just my softball team, who are amazing, but to Douglas Peterson, who became a member of the Patreon. That's right. Douglas Peterson, starting today, is a patron of the arts. Now, some would argue this is not what you would call art, what I do, but I say, sometimes it is. Sometimes, it's not high art. I wouldn't say that it's... Well, sometimes I'm high when I'm making the art. Does that make it high art? I wouldn't say it's high art, but it is something. It is something. Anyways, big shout out to Douglas Peterson for supporting Weird AF News. This one-man show that happens inside a closet. The magic that happens here in the closet. So shout out to Mr. Peterson. Appreciate it. Please enjoy the extra content that's inside the Patreon. Get in there, dig around, Doug. You'll find some stuff that you like in there, extra weird content, including bonus episodes. Now, if any of you would like to be very, very cool and generous like Douglas Peterson, please go to patreon.com/weirdafnews or weirdafnews.com. And you too can join the Patreon and get a nice shout out from Jonesy on the show and get extra content like the bonus episodes, clips of my stand-up comedy, some stuff that I'm doing in my personal life that I share on there. You wouldn't know about it unless you were in the Patreon. You wouldn't know. So think about it. It's a good way to support the show and support the arts. You know what I mean? What do you pay on Netflix? What do you pay for Netflix a month? Bunch of highway robbers out there. It's $20 a month to stream what? Bunch of superhero movies? It's crapola, man. You could buy Jonesy a coffee a month. This is something that you take in every day. So, way better money spent and less than these ridiculously overpriced streaming platforms, which is a bunch of recycled garbage. Garbage, as far as I'm concerned. Garbage. Let me ask you this. Do you think Netflix has that great film, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, on the platform? Of course it doesn't. Because they don't have cool movies like that. Cool independent movies. Cool under-the-radar movies that are really great movies. No. Every Batman movie, sure. But come on, man. Paying for that nonsense. I can't stand Netflix, can you tell? Anyways, I'm getting angry, so I need more coffee. All right, I gotta go. Love you.